Good afternoon, everybody. We're just going to make a start. Thanks for coming along to this webinar session today to find out more about our School of Computing here at Ulster. I appreciate the time you're taking to join us this afternoon. The session is due to be scheduled for around 45 minutes, so we'll try and stick to that time scale. And we will also include some time for questions at the end. So my name is Stephen. I'm from our marketing team here at Ulster, and I'm joined today by Maeve Paris, who is our partnerships manager. And Maeve works very closely with the FE colleges. So Maeve will be giving you a quick introduction just to explain the pathway for foundation and access students into our computing programs here at Ulster. After that, we will have our Associate Head of School, Dr. Nicola Eyre. She will take you through a short presentation just to tell you a bit more about the school and the courses that we offer. Nicola is also joined by Simon Fraser, who is one of the course tutors at the school. And we also have one of our students, Orla McHugh, with us. So she came through the FE College route onto one of our courses, so she can give you a really good insight into how she found the transition between college and university. So throughout the presentation, you will have the opportunity to ask questions, and that can be done through our Q&A box just at the bottom of the screen, or there's also the chat function. And again, you can put in your questions there at any time. I'll be keeping an eye on those questions as we go along. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A session, so we'll make sure all your questions are answered before the session ends. So we'll make a start, and I'll just hand over to Maeve for her introductory piece, and Simon can share the slides. Thank you, Maeve.
Thank you very much, Stephen. You're all very welcome today. Can I encourage you to use the Q&A and the chat function? It'll come up as anonymous, so we won't know who's posted the message, but if you have any questions at all as we go through this presentation, we're happy to answer them. I'm just going to do the boring bit, which is the mechanics of coming to us, and then I'm going to give the platform to much more interesting speakers who'll tell you about the things you can do. So I'm primarily addressing you as associate students, either on foundation degrees or access to HE diplomas, and this is for the School of Computing in Jordanstown. So Simon, if you could move forward, that would be great, thank you. So, and again, one more. So before I tell you about the mechanics of applying to us, just to underline something, some of you will be on access to HE diplomas, some of you will be on foundation degrees. And access to HE diploma, the main purpose of it is to access higher education. And we have special Northern Ireland access HE diplomas here, which covers two things. It covers level 3, so A-level equivalent, but it also gives you equivalents for GCSE English and Maths. So any Northern Ireland access diploma is acceptable for general entry. So if a course just simply says you must have, for example, BBB at A-level and doesn't say you must have a subject, then you can access with any access diploma. Some degree courses do have specific subject requirements, although that tends to be more in the field of engineering. If we move to the next slide, you'll just see the main aim of foundation degrees. They're slightly different. So the main aim of a foundation degree is actually to get you into work. It's to secure relevant employment. There is a secondary aim, which is where we step in, which is to offer progression or articulation to the university. And what you'll find is each foundation degree, when it's designed, has one main articulation route. There will be other routes possible, but each foundation degree has to map onto one route. If there are other routes, again, we tend to negotiate that with you. If we move to the next slide, I want to just briefly explain articulation and how it works. Most of our degrees take 4 years full time. If you go down the foundation degree and top up route, it still will take 4 years. And we have a model of 2 + 2. So let's say that you're doing software engineering in Belfast Met. You would do 2 years full time on the FD-Eng, and then you can join the linked course in year 2. So you do 2 years in Belfast Met and 2 years with us. And that will give you an FD-Eng and then a B-Eng Johns as well. You are exempt from year 3 placement on the grounds of your work-based learning module, and you can proceed to year 4. But Nicola and Simon will probably talk to you about this. We do encourage you, if you wish, you may also take the year 3 placement, and we have fantastic placements in the school, many of them very well paid. We need to be fair and transparent in our admissions decisions, so we have a thing called the university's equivalence table. So whether you're doing an access diploma or a foundation degree or A-levels or Btec, we ask the same thing, and that's aligned on the equivalence table. So if we move to the next slide, I've just got a little snippet of how it works. Pretend, and we're not, but pretend we were looking for 3 A's to get on a course here. If you look at the table, you'll see that to the left, we would expect 70% in the foundation degree, and we would expect 75% in an access diploma. So all of our awards are aligned on this equivalence table, and it means that everybody has a fair chance of getting into the university. I want to show you examples of what your offer might look like. So Simon, if you could move to the next slide, I've got a quick example of what an offer looks like. In all cases, keep up to date with the prospectus for your offer. So for example, if you're interested in getting on the BS Hons Computing Science, the A-level requirement for the course is ABB. And when you go to the equivalence table, that tells you the following. You need to pass your foundation degree, you need to get an overall mark of 60%, and you need to get a minimum 55% in all taught level 5 modules. And that will get you into year 2. Just to explain that offer to you, your taught level 5 modules are the modules you would do in year 2 full-time, minus the work-based learning. So you need to have a certain minimum standard of performance. We also require GCSE minimum grade C or above in maths and grade C or 4 in English language. But you would have had to have those to get on the course in the first place, but we'll still be asking you to provide evidence of that. There is also a direct access offer. So Simon, if we move to the access offer for the same course, again, as a reminder, A-level requirement is grades ABB. There's no subject requirement there. So in your access diploma, you need to get an overall mark of 70%. Because we are also looking for maths and English, we're going to ask you also for a pass in NICATS Maths Level 2. All access Northern Ireland diplomas will have NICATS Maths at Level 2. We'll also take GCSE Maths Grade C for entry to Year 1. So the Access Diploma comprises both your Level 3 equivalents and also your GCSE Maths and English equivalents as well. Moving on to the next slide. Simon, can I just have the next slide? Yeah, thank you very much. This is the last for what I want to say to you today. If you want to come on to us full-time, go through UCAS. If you want to come on to us part-time, come direct. You can apply direct from the university's website. Obviously, UCAS has a deadline, but direct applications can be taken up until the start of the course. People always ask me, are you guaranteed a place? And you do have a special relationship with us. So we have a place for you if you meet our offer. We have unlimited capacity for foundation degree. No, if you meet the terms of our offer, we will give you a place in year 2 of the linked degree. And you know what the offer is now anyway, because it's all in the equivalence table. Similarly, for access to HE diploma, if you meet the offer, you'll get a place in year 1. Before I hand you over to colleagues in the school, I couldn't let it go without saying that if you come to us, and we would love to see you, we'd love to welcome you, hopefully to the campus next September or the year after that, you should be aware that you are coming to the top university in Northern Ireland for computer science and information systems. I've got in my hand the Guardian University Guide, Good University Guide for 2021, and we are the top university in Northern Ireland for computer science. And in fact, we are at least a good 10 points ahead of the competition, and you can work out who that is yourselves. Most candidates, or most applicants who came to us from foundation degrees and access last year came to computing science and software engineering. So there's a long tradition of people articulating to our courses. I'm now going to hand you over to Nicola Eyre. Dr. Eyre is the Associate Head of School of the School of Computing. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And if I can also just reiterate, you're all very welcome to the School of Computing this afternoon, albeit in an electronic format. Next slide, please. In the summer of 2020, we had 209 undergraduate students who graduated with 80% of those students achieving a first or a 2-1 classification. Now, that's a good outcome, particularly with the challenges that all of our students faced over this past academic year. It's something we keep working on. We strive to do better and better each year. But it's not really the stat itself that I want to focus on, but rather to explore a little bit with you about some of the structures that we have in place, and indeed the ethos of the school that helps us to work with you to try and take you from the point of being an applicant through to a successful graduate. A number of things come together with that. It's never one single thing, but I've highlighted 3 areas on this particular slide, 3 themes that we try to constantly focus on within the school to try and help you get to that point of being a successful graduate. In terms of the learning and the teaching environment for us, our key principle through everything we do is to try and provide a supportive environment at all times for you. We want an environment that's going to enhance both your academic and also your personal development on the programme. So for instance, one of the things that we have in place in both year 1 and year 2 is we've something called our attainment and engagement strategy. And all that basically means is that from day 1 of week 1, we're actively monitoring how you're progressing with your studies. Now, the sole purpose of our doing that is so that we can get you targeted support as early even as the first week, if that's what we're seeing. The targeted support, it may be in small groups, and indeed in some instances that will be one-to-one support, because it's important that you're progressing as you move forward in the course and that you settle well to the course as you progress. Next slide, please. In this particular slide, this is actually Simon that you can see in the slide. Simon is our year 2 tutor, and he'll tell you a lot more about that. But this is Simon in one of our labs, and this is part and parcel of that supportive environment that we try to have in place for you. As I said, we're interested in your personal development and also your technical development. So you all have a studies advisor, you have year tutors, and again, Simon will speak to those. But that's a way just to make sure personally that you feel you're settling in well, that you're progressing with your studies, that you feel part of the community within the School of Computing. Clearly, you're coming to a technical discipline, and it's important that we ensure that you get good guidance on the use of your technology. We have technical induction from the very beginning to make sure that you're comfortable with the technologies that we have in place within the school. But as you progress through your studies, and we have something called our technical drop-in centre. So this runs every Wednesday afternoon. You don't need an appointment, you just drop in, and often you can get one-to-one support in that. It may be to address a technical issue, it may be just some guidance on some aspect of assessment. The idea is to try to keep supporting you to help you move forward with that. Next slide, please. Just to reiterate what Maeve has said, we're also in the National Student Survey of 2020. We're the #1 large university in Northern Ireland, and that's reflected in some of our NSS results that we got this year, particularly in computing science and computing technologies, where we are in fact above the sector average in those particular disciplines. Next slide, please. So 94% of our graduates at Ulster are either in full-time graduate employment or in further study within 6 months of leaving us within the university. Now, our pitch, everything we do is about trying to create high quality graduates. As I've said, a lot of that comes very much from the teaching and learning environments that we have in place, our ethos of strong support structures with that, but it's also through very strong industrial engagement that operates throughout your time within the School of Computing. On the side, these are just a few exemplars. I'm sure Simon will have many more. These are some of the companies who work with us on a very regular basis. And there's lots of ways that they do that through placements, scholarships, internships. So even as a foundation degree student, if you felt you didn't want to take the placement opportunity, you might want to think about an internship, perhaps in the Easter of year 2, or indeed over the summer between year 2 and year 4. But a big area where we like to use our companies is in our weekly tech talks. Tech talks essentially it's a timetable session. It's for all year groups, all courses, and basically a range of companies come in each week, and for a short session they talk about an industrial application of a current technology, or perhaps showcase one of the latest technology developments, or indeed the very brave will often try to do a live demo for us of some of the software being used commercially. But as importantly, these companies all contribute very actively to the courses that we offer, the modules that we have within those. So for example, many of these companies will help us with module design, module content, but also they come in and they do guest lectures and master classes within a number of the modules that we offer. Again, it's helping just to strengthen your knowledge of the field and your ability to apply the modules that you're working through. Next slide, please. Alongside all of our industrial links, we have some companies that we have developed a very close collaborative relationship with. And one of these is Btec, or the British Telecom Ireland Innovation Centre. And we have a joint research hub with them. And you might be looking at this and think, well, why would I care? It doesn't matter to me. I'm not coming to do research. The advantage of our having the Btec on campus with us is that they can help inform our teaching. So particularly in the areas of intelligent systems, Internet of Things, security, they can help us ensure that our provision is as current as it possibly can do at any given moment in time. Many of the staff from Btec, they also help us in our lab sessions with tutorial sessions, again, helping just with the currency of what you're learning. And indeed, when you get to final years, you'll see when Simon gives you the course overviews, you complete a substantial project. Btec on occasion will provide case studies for that, and indeed some project ideas that we can follow through with that. Next slide, please. The School of Computing, we will be moving, and from September 2021, we will in fact be on the Belfast campus. I'm not sure how well in the screen you can see the graphic, but if you look to the one on the bottom left of the screen, and if we're traveling down the Dunbar link and we're to keep going to Frederick Street, just as we move on to Frederick Street, if you look to the left, that's where the School of Computing will be based. We're potentially in around floors 3 and 4 on that side of the building. This is going to be state-of-the-art teaching, learning hubs within this, and we are very excited about the move to Belfast. Just to close, one of the things I would say to you is that, fundamentally our ethos within the school is you. The focus is on you and guiding you as an applicant through to becoming a successful graduate. And by a successful graduate, we mean either out in graduate employment within the IT sector, or perhaps even considering further study within the field. Within the school, we have 3 advanced master's programs in computer science, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things. I'm now going to hand you over to Simon Fraser, our Year 2 tutor, and Simon will guide you through some of the details of the provision.
Hi, welcome to my office in Excel, which is somewhere in a Belfast suburb. I'm Sam Fraser. I am the Year 2 tutor in the School of Computing. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what I do. We're going to look at some of the modules. I'm going to talk about Year 3, and I'll be talking about Year 4 as well. The time for my mouse not to be working. There we go. So, at the minute, in the School of Computing, we have 4 full-time degrees in undergraduate provision. We have Computing Science, Interactive Computing, Computing Technologies, and those are BCS honours course, and then we have the BEng on Software Engineering, which would be considered a subset of Computing Science. 4 very individual degrees, and as we get towards final year, they will sort of branch out. We have a common first year, in first semester and first year, all students do core modules. That starts to diversify in second semester, and by the time we get to second year, we have various pathways for the 4 degrees. You may have already talked about entry requirements. So typically if you're coming into Year 2, you're coming in from foundation degree, and you're aware that you have to get a GCSE in Maths, grade C, and you have to meet this target for the foundation degree as well. So when you come into Year 2, you have key staff on the course, and that will be the course director, which currently is Dr. Jose Santos. We have the year tutor, which for you will be me in Year 2, and you have studies advisor. Every student on the course will have a studies advisor allocated to them, and they can go and talk to them if they're having module-specific issues or issues in general. If it's a little bit serious, more serious, they come to the likes of me, and I can escalate that up to the course director and Nicola in her role as associate head. If you're not quite sure what a year tutor is, I'm basically the course director for that year, and I manage you guys in Year 2. I'm often the first port of contact in the School of Computing, and if this was a normal year, a student would be knocking on my door saying, can I come and talk to you? These days, of course, since we're mostly teaching online, it's an email or a Teams call or a quick call on Skype. We provide 4 year tutors in the School of Computing. Year 1, Year 2 be me. We have a specific placement year tutor as well. So any of the students are on placement, and at the minute there's quite a few. I'd like to think there's well over 100 last time I looked. All they have a specific person looking after them as well. And in Year 4, there's a year tutor who looks after them, because Year 4, of course, is important, and when students start looking for graduate jobs as well. So, year tutors all look after the 4 courses: Computing Science, Software Engineering, Computing Technologies, and the Interactive Computing as well. What do we focus on? Some of this will be common sense to you, and some of this will not have occurred to you, I think. Engagement. We want to see that students are engaging with the course. We want to see that students are attending their classes as well. And often the case, it feeds into the third point. If students aren't engaging or attending, there is often an underlying issue going on. And it could be mental health, it could be financial, it could be physical health, family concerns as well. That's the sort of thing we need to find out. Your academic performance is very important to us, but your mental health and those issues are way more important. So if there's stuff impacting upon you, you need to let us know. And that feeds in quite nicely what I'm about to say in regards to student well-being. Student well-being is a department within the university, which is specifically targeted at making sure you're okay. They have counsellors, they offer financial advice, and they provide us, the academic staff, with recommendations. One thing that you do need to be aware of, if you have some sort of special need, it could be dyslexia, it could be something else, make sure that student well-being are informed of that. So recommendations to help you in achieving your academic goals can be put in place. And then the 4th thing, which I focus on, is the very exciting paperwork to make sure that you guys are processed properly at exam boards and can progress onto Year 3 or Year 4. What does all this mean for FT students coming into Year 2? When you come into Year 2, you will get a specific Year 2 induction talk from me. Normally it's in a big assembly room, lecture room, and I'm staring up at the keen faces coming in. This year it was all done online via our virtual learning environment, Blackboard Collaborate. I give you advice on what to expect. I talk about the transition from college to university, and I emphasize the point that you are always more than welcome to knock on my door or contact me via other means just to see that you're getting on all right. We also, within to encourage sort of bonding, and because you're coming into a cohort which knows each other from year one. Some of you will know people on your course. Some of you maybe have people from your college course coming onto the same course as you, but we encourage the likes of meetups and hackathons as well. We have a very good student computing society at the minute, which is pushing code challenges and stuff like that, and hopefully trying to get some guest talks in. We would actively encourage students to go to the meetups, to chat to developers around Belfast. We have the Tech Talks, which Nicola has already talked about, and there is a Google developer camp group as well going on. So to encourage this bonding within the courses and the wider Belfast computing area, we try to suggest to students go to these meetups, talk to people, get advice, find out what's going on in industry, stuff that can help feed into your final year as well. Now, changing things slightly, your second year does count, and hopefully if I type here with my pen, you can see you're coming into if you come into year 2, you're coming in at level 5. 30% of your final year degree classification comes from your year 2. The other 70% comes from your year 4. I would actively encourage anyone to try and do their best in year 2 because it provides a little bit of a nice cushion going into year 4. So year 2 worth 30%, year 4 or final year would be worth 70%, and that would get you 2-1, 2-2, third, or a first. Now, we have a big emphasis on programming across all the degrees. In first year, all students get taught Python. They get taught Python, but they get taught Python. They got taught programming using Python. So they have an introduction to programming, and that can be easily transferred to other programming languages. In second semester of first year, students, depending on the degree program, focus on other things. So computing science and software engineering would go down a Java route. The computing technologies would go down a C# route. And the interactive computing students would be looking at Node.js. That feeds through into second year, and the computing science students and software engineering students still be doing Java and PHP as well in their second semester, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Computing technologies carry on doing C#, and the interactive computing students will do more JavaScript and PHP as well. So just be aware that there is programming, and we'll expect programming in second year, and we'll expect you to be doing it in final year as well. The topics across the degrees build on what you've done in your foundation degree. So we're talking about web development, and we're talking about software development. And web development and software development go hand in hand, because you will be building software that can be run in a browser. You'll be working on your client-side skills, and you'll be working on your server-side skills, and that will be integrate quite nicely with database development. Running in parallel that, we'll be looking at networks and the ever-popular topic of security, which is fed into us from industry. So second year gives you a nice practical basis for going into placement or and your final year as well. Let's look at what you would be doing coming into year 2. Everybody does 120 credits worth of modules. And each module either has 10 worth 10 credits or 20. In your semester 1, all courses do 4 modules. So everyone does computer networks and professional development. Professional development is there to help you with your CV, prep you well for placement, and think about what you want to be doing after you leave university. Depending on your degree, you have pathway modules. So first pathway module would be this. If you are doing computing science or software engineering, you have a maths module. There's a little bit of programming there to support the maths theory being taught. The second pathway module in semester 1, is for computing science software engineering students is algorithms and data structures, and that is currently taught explaining these computing principles using Java. So that's for computing science software engineering students. If you're doing computing technologies, you learn e-business and you do a technology infrastructure management module, which looks at Azure, virtual machines, and stuff like that. If you're doing interactive computing, you'll learn a bit about HCI, and you'll expand upon some of the concepts taught to you about web design in year 1 by looking at more JavaScript, jQuery, and stuff, libraries and frameworks as well. So that is what's happening in semester 1. You have 4 modules, and depending on your degree, you do certain other modules as well. Coming into semester 2, everyone does system security. And then again, we look at what degree programming you're on. And if you're doing that certain degree, you do a certain module. Now, the interesting thing we've been doing is whatever pathway module you're doing in semester 2 integrates quite nicely with this module, software development practice. These 2 modules go hand in hand. Computing science, software engineering students, and interactive computing students all do web. Time for my pen not to working. Web application development. You will be building software on the browser. I'll get there eventually, using a PHP framework called Laravel. And if you're doing computing technologies, if I'm assuming I'm still teaching that module, I will be teaching you .NET Core web applications using ASP.NET Razor. So computing science, software engineering, interactive computing do PHP, and CT students do ASP.NET Core. In conjunction, you learn about the process of software development in COM 4 through 5. You'll be in the same group for Form 4 through 5 as you are for your pathway module 3 thing. This will all become clearer when you get into second year, but just be aware that we have modules that work with each other, not just on their own. Now, typically, had we not had COVID-19, we would all be in labs and lectures on campus. This is regarded now as a historic archive because currently a lot of our teaching is online. But typically, this is a typical timetable for a semester 1 class course at Jordanstown. We would have a lecture, and then we would have tech talk, and we have practical classes and stuff like that as well. And as Nicola already talked about, there's the drop-in class on a Wednesday afternoon. This will be subject to change, bear in mind, when we move to Belfast. So this timetable, assuming COVID-19 we've got it under control and we're in Belfast, this timetable is different, will be different because the rooms will be different as well. So there will be a timetable. It might not suit everyone, but we will try and do our best to make sure that you are learning properly and you try and get space of gaps in your timetable to process what you've been learning. We have worked out what you should be spending time-wise on a module. You have your lectures, you have your practicals, your tutorials as well. They add up to, say, 60 hours. Let's say 60 hours. The important thing for you is your independent studying throughout the semester. You can't just switch off from week to week learning and then re-engaging in the lecture and the topic. You need to be spending some time, and we appreciate that you have part-time jobs and family concerns, but the more independent studying you can put into module, the more it pays off. Your assessment, typically, predominantly coursework. One module at the minute has exams as an exam, but predominantly it is solo work and group work. And group work would be around 3 to 5 people. We have So your coursework will be class tests, written reports, presentations, and software development assignments as well. So we have a nice mixture of coursework, and that all feeds into your marks for the module as well. Some modules may do class tests to get feedback on how you are doing on the modules so far as well, so bear that in mind. Year 3, that is the placement year. As Maeve and Nicola, I think, already said, if you've done work-based learning in your foundation degree, you are exempt. But many foundation degree students have gone on to do placement and enjoyed it and excelled at it. My advice, just to be on the safe side, as it has affected some students, if you're thinking of doing placement in year 3, speak to Student Finance and I, just to be reassured that their funding is there for that. Advantages of placement: there's a diploma, professional practice, and you get to work and make contacts in for some great companies around Northern Ireland and the Republic and outside those as well. You've got your communication, organisational skills. It vastly improves your employability, and it can have an impact on your degree because the students that come in from placement into final year, they have a very good work ethic, and it really focuses their mind on what they have to be doing in final year. Speaking of final year, and I'm pretty sure it might be slightly rushed through. Year 4, that's so everybody in the first semester does 3 core modules in semester 1: process management, the project, and full stack technical strategies and development. Process management explains, feeds in quite nicely into the project because that talks about the processes behind it. Full stack module starts from nothing and ends up, you've got some lovely web application at the end, and that uses Python. Project runs over 2 semesters, and then in semester 2, depending on your degree, you get another 2 modules. If you're doing software engineering, currently there's 2 mandatory modules you must do in semester 2. Computing science students get a choice of 2 modules from currently 11 optional modules. Computing technology students have to do 1 module, and they have one other choice from the pool. And interactive computing students are like computing science students and get 2 modules from a pool of currently 11 modules as well. So semester 2 really is where your degree starts to diversify quite nicely from other courses, and you can focus on heart's content on what you really want to do. Currently, here are some of these semester 2 modules. Obviously, they can be subject to change, but we're talking the likes of pervasive computing, AI, data analytics, all cutting edge stuff that industry likes and research likes as well. And remember, you're to be taught by world-class, national class researchers who feed their research into these modules as well. So it's not just theoretical, you're getting stuff that is being used currently in development and research as well. And then, well, it's up to you. I mean, there's such a big IT sector in Belfast, and it's come a huge long way since I started 20 years ago. Programmer, software development, UI designer, database administrator, testing, research. If you want, you can go on to do MSCs. We've got some very good MSCs being taught at Ulster University at the minute. Some of you might want to be thinking about doing a PhD. Some of you may be thinking of that already. This is certainly something you can think about. But this is a good time to be in IT. I know it's not a good time worldwide, but if you're focusing on IT, it will pay off if you put the effort into it. And top employers, the big boys in Belfast: Kainos, City, Liberty IT, PricewaterhouseCoopers, BT, and we've got the likes of Allstate, IBM, Intel, and all that. There are some very good, there's a huge amount of employers here, and they're aware of computing students at Jordanstown. They know they can do the job, and they like our students, and we've certainly been told that enough by employers when we go on placement visits and they feed back to us from the industry panels. So that's the end of my spiel. I think Orla is due to talk now, so I will discreetly disappear, and thank you very much for listening to me.
Hiya. So I think basically what I'm going to do is reiterate everything that's just been said. But this is my experience and this is what happened to me. But I'm currently a PhD researcher within the school in the AI research group. But before uni and before all that, I was in Southwest College doing my foundation degree. And before I came to uni, my main choices I would have chosen between software engineering and computer science. And they were sort of the big dogs at the time, so that's kind of what we all did. So I chose computer science because back then you were allowed optional modules in year 2, but I think judging from Simon's presentation, maybe you don't get that anymore. So I did modules like programming, mobile app development was an option in year 2, databases, data communications and networks. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it was all sunshine and roses when I went there, because you're coming from a really, really like tight-knit, small cohort in your foundation degree to being in this like huge cohort, like over 100 people, and you kind of like, you almost feel like you're going to be invisible, but it's just not the case. But I think that's what I found really hard at the start, is just that difference in, you know, sizes and being like so alone but not alone. But then we got assigned our studies advisors, and I went and I like talked to mine, and he was like, it's fine, don't worry about it, like everyone feels like this, don't worry, you just have to keep working and you'll find your feet and all this. And it was completely true, and I did, and it was completely fine. So if you're worried about like the transition, there is a transition, like, and you'll feel it, you'll know it, but you'll get over it, and it'll be just like second nature to you in no time. So then I sort of skipped placement, which maybe going back I would probably do a placement, just for the experience, because I know the work-based learning, like it's not that long, so you get like, is it like 3 months or something like that of work, but if you went back and did it again for a full year, like you would learn so much more than just those 3 months. So I would probably recommend that you do it, but obviously like talk to student finance and, you know, reevaluate your own situation and stuff before you do that. And so I went straight into 4th year. So those optional modules again for computer science. So I done modules like software process engineering and software process management, like managing your own project, as well as, you know, the big project and artificial intelligence and intelligent systems. That was sort of incorporated with data analytics at that time. So yeah, there's like loads of stuff you can choose from, or to get your whatever studies you want out of it. Other than that, like, you know, your final year project is sort of the big one in final year. And it's just like a large scale project, but you basically get free rein to do whatever you want within limits. But you have a project supervisor who, like, you know, they'll like talk to you, and they'll like, mine was pretty much every week I talked to him, but they basically say, okay, this isn't feasible, you're not going to get this done in time, or this is too easy, you're going to need to make that more challenging in order to like push yourself to your maximum like potential and get like the best grades possible. But those supervisors are so helpful, like I can't even explain to you how helpful they are. Mine helped me with my personal life as well as my like academic life. He helped me with my CV and my PhD application, actually, and my PhD interview. You know, he helped with all of those things, and general just life advice. So, you know, the support you get here is really incredible. So I really wouldn't worry about like the transition or coming here if that's what's worrying you. Nicola talked about, you know, the tech talks and stuff from those companies that come in. They're invaluable. You know, if you're going to apply for placement opportunities, you can go into your interview with them and be like, oh, I know you are talking about, I know you are working on this at this time, and I know you are doing this, that's really interesting, and here's why I think I'd be great. Or even for like job opportunities afterwards, you know, I seen you talking X amount of time ago at one of these tech talks. You know, it's really, really good for your CV as well as just general life, seeing what's out there. You know, you could go to one and say like, oh, I really don't want to be interested in that. Or you go to someone else and you're like, oh yeah, no, I really like that. Like that's definitely up my street. So that's kind of my experience about the whole thing. if you have any questions, like, I'll be as honest as possible. So yeah, just throw me any questions that you have. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Orla. That's really useful insight into student experience and where it's brought you now. So I think that really adds to what Nicola and Simon were telling us in terms of the overview of the school and the courses. I'm conscious of time. I know we're running a little bit over, but we have some questions just in the chat box here, which we want to get through. But if there's anything else you think of after this session, you can email us at study@ulster.ac.uk. and we'll answer your questions that way as well. So don't worry if you're not quite ready to answer questions now. So just looking at some of the ones coming in here, guys, if you want to have a go at answering a couple of these. The first one I have here sent to me directly was about placements. I know we talked a lot about placements and the benefits of them. One question here is, do the university help with finding placement opportunities, or is it up to the students to find their own placement?
No, I can confirm, yes, the university will help you find placement. We have a website where all the placements for the companies are posted. Students are trained up on how to do CVs and apply for these placements as well. So we have a process and it works really well. So companies feed into the website and students see a list of posts they can apply for. You can apply for placement outside the university system, and if you meet our criteria, you can do that as well.
Okay, yep, so we'll support you on that. The next one is quite topical, I guess, for the situation we're in at the minute, but just how well is the school set up for online learning and I guess the blended learning approach that we're in the middle of?
I think I'll let Nicola take that one.
Yes, so just like everyone else, it was a learning curve for us, but we've now been doing this since 23rd of March this year. We have a number of technologies in place, and we combine where we can. If it's right for a module, we will try to bring something on campus, but for many of our modules at this time, we are completely online. Again, we've developed a number of technical tutorials, just to help you with that, because we appreciate that maybe some of the online collaborative tools that we use, you may not have been exposed to those within your college. So we have a number of tutorials to help with that.
Okay, yep, that's great. Just looking at some of the other ones coming in here. So one question just about from a student who says that they're a final year apprentice student with various life commitments. Can you explain why this path would be more beneficial to them rather than some other online courses that may be available, such as that offer like Cisco networking, for example? They're just saying both paths seem viable, so they're weighing up both options at present. So why would you advise doing this particular program instead of some of those other ones available online?
Stephen, can I come in briefly on that and then allow the others to talk? We have a fabulous part-time computing systems degree, and we have quite a lot of apprentices who take that route. And if you're currently an apprentice on a part-time foundation degree, you can join our course in the equivalent of year 2, but you have to make up 240 credits. But we have a variable rate of progression, so you can move as fast or as quick or as slowly through those credits as you wish. It is available through an apprenticeship framework, and we have got quite a few employers who either engage with the framework or offer Earn as You Learn. But it's a tremendously successful degree, and it's very highly thought of. And of course, like all of our degrees, it also has British Computer Society accreditation, which counts for a lot. I'm going to hand you back in case Nicola and Simon have anything to add to that.
I think just one thing I would say to folks is that if you look at computing provision from any provider, all computing provision will have the core elements that you need. So your programming, your databases, your security, etc. I often say to people, that's only one element of the whole package. So things like the student support, the environment that we create, how we engage with our students, those aspects are as important. So again, if the opportunity arises and campus opens at some point in the future, I would encourage people just to come on board, come to any on-campus events that we get to run, and just meet some of the people face to face, because feeling comfortable in a particular scenario, that's as important.
Okay, thanks. One here from a student who said that they've come through the kind of Btec route, so they haven't done A-level maths. So will that make the course more difficult for them, or is there kind of additional support to help up just some of those things that they may be missing from A-level maths?
There's no requirement to have completed A-level maths for any of our programs. We have the GCSE maths entry requirement, and beyond that, we have no specific subject that we ask. We start everybody from the same baseline and move forward from that. And again, if you did find you were starting to struggle a little bit with some of the mathematical concepts, again, the drop-in centre is available to you, and we can arrange for you to have appropriate support within that context. So that isn't something to worry about.
Okay, thank you. One here from Michaela in the chat room, and it just simply says, what will be the most popular degree? I guess that's, there's quite a range of different courses available there, both full-time and part-time. And I guess that really depends on which area you kind of want to specialise in. But I'm sure there's different sizes to each of the courses, Simon. Sorry, you're just on mute.
Still not used to this microphone thing. The biggest course at the minute is computing science, and then it would be software engineering and interactive computing technologies would be around the same size. So I don't think we can equate biggest with popular, just that some students want to do computing science, some people prefer to do more hands-on stuff with computing technologies. If you're more designy, which is a word I think, you can do some website stuff. You want to do interactive computing, and if you want to focus on software engineering principles, you can obviously go into the software engineering degree as well.
Okay. There's one also in the chat room just asking generally about transition. So how did students from previous years foundation degree manage whenever they entered year 2 of computing science? I guess Orla touched on a lot of that anyway. And I think, Simon, you mentioned that support in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, we as I said, we have the specific year 2 induction talk for students as well. The lecturers are well aware that a sizable chunk of their class come from the foundation degree, so they did make the extra effort to make sure that they're involved with stuff as well. And for group work as well, students will find they can bond with the other members of the group via coursework. So there's a little bit of a transition, because I think the biggest challenge is that they're coming to a far bigger place if they're coming from technical colleges. But once we get past that, I think they're just like everybody else and a valued part of our community.
Okay.
Stephen, can I just add one thing? Because I think sometimes that question means, how am I going to get on? Am I going to do just as well, or is it going to be even more challenging for me because I've come down a foundation route? We have actually analysed outcomes for students who come from foundation degrees and top-up degrees, and there is no difference. You're just as likely to get a first, a 2-1 or a 2-2 as students who come straight into us, say from A-levels or Btecs in first year. So just to reassure you that in many respects, because you've done work-based learning, you also have an upper hand. You're actually quite confident at trying things because you had a period in work, but your outcomes, your degree outcomes, are exactly equivalent to students who entered the university in first year.
Yeah, that's really reassuring, and that kind of backs up what Orla was saying in terms of her experience as well. So the final question that I have, unless anybody else wants to type in a question quickly, is just how are classes delivered? Is it mainly lecture-based, or are there practical sessions as well? Simon, I think you did touch on that in your talk as well.
Yes, so every module will have lectures throughout the week, which could either be 2 1-hour lectures or a 2-hour block, and then there will be a 2-hour practical class for each module during the week, and then maybe a 1-hour tutorial as well, and obviously the independent studying. So you will get a lecture, you will get a tutorial, and you will get a practical class as well. In regards to the practical class, we do try and make sure that we're using software that students can easily get as well. So we're aware of the cost that students can entail. So the software we use in labs, you can mostly get for free as part of our deals with Microsoft and stuff like that.
Okay. Yep, it's a good mix there. So that's all the questions covered within this session. But as I say, feel free to email us in at study@ulster.ac.uk after the session, and I'll get the course team to come back to you directly. We'll also be sending out a recording of this webinar so you can watch again, because I appreciate there's a lot going on in there, a lot of information to take in, so you can watch in your own time. So that will be sent out through an email after this session. So that really wraps it up, unless Nicola or Maeve, is there anything else you want to add? Happy enough.
Just Stephen, again, just to thank everyone today for taking the time to come online and chat to us, albeit in a virtual format, but we are always delighted to meet up with our potential graduates. So thank you to everyone.
Yes, thanks guys for attending. Just to let you know, we will be having other sessions throughout the academic year, whether it be webinar, and hopefully, depending on the guidelines, at some stage we'll get you on the campus to have a tour around. But keep in touch. Any questions at all, just get in touch with us. And good luck with your choices and your examinations later on in the year. So thank you very much to everybody, and we'll catch up soon. Thank you.